Welcome to GameSpot of Thrones. I'm Lucy James, joined of course by Kate Gray.
Hello.
And Dave Jewett.
Hey.
Welcome to our weekly Westerosi show where we talk about everything about Westeros, Essos, and everything in between. This week we'll be talking about Season 6, Episode 3, Oathbreaker. So if you haven't seen it, consider this your spoiler warning. And if you have seen it, then let's get started. So let's start the show as we do every week by giving a brief recap of what happened on the episodes. So Kate, can you kick things off with Essos?
Yes, I can. So we're not particularly keen on Daenerys' bits. She keeps saying, I'm Daenerys, have you kind of not heard of me? And everyone goes, we have, but we don't really care. At the moment, she's doing that in Vase Dothrak. She's quoting all her fancy titles, and the Dosh Khaleen are unimpressed. We also learn Varys' methods. We know that he's very good at getting secrets out of people, but we don't really know how. Turns out it's a mixture of intimidation, threats, and money. Who would have guessed? We also see Tyrion, this is probably one of my favourite bits in the episode, trying to chaperone a really awkward date. But we do find out that's interrupted by some news that they've figured out who's paying off the Sons of the Harpy. It's the Masters from Astapor, Yunkai, and Volantis.
Shock.
Big
No
surprise.
one's surprised.
Huge surprise. The people that Daenerys pissed off aren't very happy. Who knew? But then we cut to Arya training with the Waif, which is getting more exciting. She's come along a long way in just 3 episodes. She's now basically a badass master at hitting people with a stick when she can't see. And she does have this mini scene with the Waif where she's sort of going, who are you? And this time she actually says who she used to be, which we're not used to seeing. She normally says, I'm no one. But this time she goes, I used to be Arya Stark. And the Waif whips her every time she lies, which is, I thought they were going to reveal some secret through that, but they didn't. They do talk about the Hound a lot, though. She sort of says, who is on your list? And she goes, the Hound. And she's like, oh, but you killed him. And Arya goes, yes, I took him off the list. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen there? Maybe we're going to see the Hound returning, and we see Arya and the Hound being best friends again. But then Waif says that can't be everyone you want to kill. The list that Arya has is only 3 names, Cersei, Walder Frey, and Gregor Clegane at the moment. That can't be everyone you want to kill, says the Waif. And Arya goes, which name would you like a girl to speak? So she's turned into Jack and Hagar. Basically, she's going, I'll off someone if you want. We don't get to hear who the Waif wants to kill, but we do see her giving a bit of a bitchy look to Jaqen, so maybe that's it, or maybe it's something else entirely. And finally, Jaqen then goes, Arya, have this mysterious water.
If a girl is truly no one, she has nothing to fear.
So Arya takes a sip, closes her eyes for ages, and then she gets her sight back.
Yay!
Finally.
Who are you?
No one.
Heading south then, on the ship to Old Town, Sam drops the bomb that Gilly will not be welcome with him at the Citadel, and that he's actually dropping her off with his family who, I don't know why he's trying to talk them up as to being a good family, because at least in the books they send him off to the wall because they thought he was a complete just fail of a human being. So I don't know, he says he's doing it for Gilly's safety, and Gilly says, but you know, you said we'd always be together, but you're the father of my child, which is a lot better than the actual reality of who the father of that child is. And then in King's Landing, so we see Maester Qyburn has taken over Varys's little birds by bribing them with plums, which is just like candied plums. That's obviously some reference to Varys and that he has no testes. There's also, so he's making a spy network for Cersei. I don't really get why he likes Cersei so much. Maybe because she's the only person who lets him do his weird experiments.
Yeah.
But then the show, I've noticed, has totally skipped calling the mountain, the reanimated mountain, Sir Robert Strong. They've just straight up gone with, this is Sir Gregor. He's back now. They dropped some hints about Clegane Bowl, about who the mountain's ultimate fight will be against, but we'll talk more about that later. I love that Maester Pycelle seems to have the only natural reaction to seeing the mountain. There's a small council meeting. The mountain comes up just as Maester Pycelle's chatting some shit about him. And Maester Pycelle, well.
And I, for one, think it will be in our best interest to have the beast destroyed.
We get more of sort of the Lannisters v everyone else in this scene as well. You get Olenna Tyrell and Kevin Lannister sort of joining ranks and just being against Jaime, Cersei, and Gregor. I like the fact that the Dawn subplot is ticking along without necessarily having to be on screen.
Yep.
They're just like, oh, stuff's happening in Dawn. Yeah, we know. And then we head to the Sept of Baelor, where Tommen's backbone, or whatever he had left of it, just completely disintegrates, and the poor little boy just gets manipulated by the High Sparrow.
There's so much good in all of us. The best we can do is to help each other bring it out.
Well, we'll talk a little about the fight sequence. We get to see a young Ned and Howland Reed face off against Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, and get to see his badass dual wielding. Slight change to the story. We always thought the story was that Ned killed Sir Arthur Dayne one-on-one, but turns out that Howland Reed actually stabbed him in the back, which is quite interesting. And then, of course, just as we're about to see what's in the tower... So Dave, the North.
Well, Jon wakes up and is understandably a little confused, a little scared. The last thing he remembered was being stabbed, one through the heart by bloody Ollie. And I think Davos summed it up best when he said,
"You were dead. And no, you're not. That's completely fucking mad, seems to me. I can only imagine how it seems to you."
When he exits his room into the courtyard of Castle Black, he's met by the few loyal members of the Night's Watch and the wildlings, who now apparently revere him as some kind of god, the man who came back from the dead. Although Tormund Giantsbane isn't convinced he's a god, as he says a god wouldn't have a pecker that small. Although, to be fair to old Jon Snow, he was dead, and it is pretty cold up there, so there may have been some shrinkage. So, cut a guy a break. He's been through a lot. After we get through the rest of the episode, we come back to the wall, and we see some justice being rightfully dished out to the four traitorous men that are still around. Alistair Thorne, as defiant as ever, he wouldn't change if he could, if he said, like...
But he thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah,
I am sort of defending him, but it's the same with Jon, right? He thought they were doing the right thing.
Yeah. Although Jon's didn't equate to murder. And then we see Ollie just hanging out, just looking vengeful as ever, and looking a bit like James from James and the Giant Peach. But then with a swing of Longclaw, chop goes the rope, they all four come tumbling down, and they just death by strangulation.
And what's interesting about that scene is we've just heard Jon Snow being like, what comes after death? And he's like, nothing. He knows these guys are going off into nothing, so he hesitates for a bit, but then he, does it anyway. So.
Then after they all come tumbling down, he palms off his robes to old Dolores Ed, and basically gives him the mantle of Lord Commander, and then he just drops the mic, walks away.
My watch is ended.
So a lot seemed to happen in last night's episode, even though sometimes it felt a little bit padded, a little bit like, oh, get on with the good bit. But Kate, what was your kind of pinnacle favourite moment?
So for me, it was when the Umbers turn up at Ramsay's house and they go, "Hey, Ramsay, we're here to be your friend. Can Ramsay come out and play?" And Ramsay's like, "Okay, what do you have?" And he goes, "Well, we've got a gift." And last week, we correctly predicted that gift would be Rickon Stark. We didn't actually figure out that it would also be Osha would come along with him. And also that Shaggy Dog, or what's left of Shaggy Dog, would come along as proof that Rickon is indeed a Stark. So that was quite sad, but there were a lot of interesting moments in that clip that make me think maybe there's more than it seems. So first of all, the Umber guy refuses to swear an oath.
I'm not kissing your fucking hand.
Traditionally, a bannerman kneels before his lord.
I'm not doing that either.
He swears in every other way.
He does swear quite a lot. And he's quite convincing with his reasons. He's like, "Oh, why would you trust me anymore if I swore an oath? There's been plenty of that and it hasn't worked out for most people.
Yeah.
Your dad swore an oath and then he killed everyone. So, if I swear an oath, it means nothing, so I'm not going to. And I'm not kissing your hand." And I completely agree with him. That would be gross. I wouldn't kiss any part of Ramsay.
Who knows where he's been flaying?
Well, everywhere. But here's the idea. Maybe he doesn't want to swear an oath because it would be a lie.
Oh, and then he would become...
The Oathbreaker in the title of the episode. Although he hasn't obviously done that yet. But the idea here is that he's swearing loyalty to the Boltons, but he doesn't mean it.
He's sort of swearing to them. It's like doing everything apart from signing the papers.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you can trust me. Why wouldn't you trust me? I hate the wildlings. First of all, saying that you hate the wildlings doesn't really seem like a great motivation to ally with a guy who's so untrustworthy he killed his own dad. There's a lot of dad killing, obviously, but either their dads are assholes or they're assholes or both. So, that's not really, I wouldn't want to ally with a guy that, mad dog insane. So, first of all, there's that. And secondly, Rickon doesn't really react to the fact that his beloved direwolf's head is dumped on the table. And you'd think if it was truly Shaggy Dog, he'd be a bit sad. Maybe he's just a bad actor, but...
Maybe Shaggy Dog's been dead for ages and he watched it happen.
Maybe, but still, it would be an upsetting sight. If your mum's head was rolled out on the table, you wouldn't be like, oh, I've seen it.
It's probably more concerned about being flayed or having his sausage chopped off, as old Reek did.
He's already been referred to as Recon online, and I'm getting real nervous about that.
Like, he's a kid.
I know. But, I mean, the thing about Shaggy Dog is, it's like, part of me wants to believe that it's not Shaggy Dog.
Yeah.
Like, how big would a direwolf actually be? Is that the right size? It's probably Shaggy Dog.
It was only a very brief view of the wolf's head. But we don't know what Shaggy Dog looks like. I don't remember what Shaggy Dog looks like. Probably similar to the rest. Yeah, but that might not be him. We haven't seen him in ages. So there's no proof, really. Getting out a wolf's head isn't properly proof. So I'm keen for the Umbers to literally stab Ramsay in the back and then use the presence of the Stark boy to reinstate the Starks, at least, in Winterfell, and see where they go from there.
But what's interesting is that even if wildlings are their biggest concern, and didn't he mention that Jon Snow is definitely up there?
Yes.
And yet he didn't take Rickon to Jon. He just decided to take him straight to Ramsay.
If he knows, because he knows that Jon let the wildlings through. So to him, someone who's fought wildlings all his life, he considers his home now under threat. And I suppose the one person he could get men from would be Ramsay, who's now...
Yeah, but do you think maybe he's trying to get the men from Ramsay, or do you think he's actually allying with Ramsay?
No, I definitely think it's just an act of desperation. He needs Ramsay's men, and Rickon is in trouble. And also R.I.P. Shaggy Dog.
Your father was a
My beloved father, the warden...
Your father was a and that's why you killed him.
Arya seems to have gone full Matt Murdock in this episode, which I'm super happy about. Dave?
I'm really glad that she's back in training. The whole just being around blind beggar girl was getting a bit tedious because we know she deserves better than that. Exactly. She was just getting whipped and punched for nothing. So the wave takes her back. We get to see her awesome training montage, which was about as training montage I think this series has ever got. But then after her montage, Jaqen and the waif can see that her training's coming on well. She's almost considered like a no one. And Jaqen makes a drink from the well that we've seen is we've been led to believe it's poison because she feeds it to that young girl to end her suffering and she dies. And Jaqen says a true no one has nothing to fear. So she takes a little sippy sip, gets her eyes back, and now it seems to me at least that she's no one now. But we've been leading up to this for so long. What do we think is next for Arya?
I kind of hope she develops more of her senses. She did that in the book. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about hearing and smelling and feeling things without being able to see. A bit more Daredevil than it actually is now.
It was hinted at that in the montage because she's smelling the poison, the powder, and feeling the bottles.
Yeah, one of them had an X on it. Right?
Yeah, so I'm guessing she's making poison through feel and smell. That was the vibe I was getting, at least.
So the one thing that I'm thinking about is that is she truly no one? Because no one is meant to have no personal belongings, but she threw Needle.
She hid Needle, didn't she?
She's hidden Needle. So is she holding on to that? Is she actually really no one? And that Jaqen H'ghar doesn't know? Or does Jaqen H'ghar know that she's done that and she's just going to get punished for it later?
I think we mentioned this in the last episode, that she's kind of trying to manipulate the whole faceless men thing to what she wants rather than what they want her to want.
Yeah.
And whether that's going to end, like you say, in her being punished because they know seemingly everything, or whether she's actually going to come out of it the other side and use it to her advantage, whatever that may be. It's going to be interesting to find out.
I don't know what I expected from Tower of Joy.
More
but
than that.
I mean, admittedly, more than that. But you know what? As I was watching it, I was thinking, this is going too cleanly. This is ticking along too nicely. I'm going to cut stuff off. And they did, like, right as it got good. But there are a lot of interesting talking points from that scene. So let's talk a little bit about Ned, because this story, as far as we've known, is that Ned bested Sir Arthur Dane, who's the greatest swordsman at the Seven Kingdoms at the time. Ned managed to beat him, like, in sword fighting. And so when Bran says, you know, like, he's much better than my father, and then Howland Reed just comes out of nowhere. And the thing is, I don't think Ned lied to be, like, peacocking about it. He lied for a reason, maybe to protect Howland Reed.
Or even Arthur Dane, because he was the greatest sword. And, you know, that's not the good way to die.
I guess it's also, it's not very chivalrous. It's dishonourable for knights, I guess.
Yeah. And we've always known Ned as a very honourable person, so he could have been protecting both the honour of the stabbed and the stabbee.
Or maybe Howland Reed was just being like us and just like, get up there already. Stop sword fighting. Just go.
Come on, advance.
Howland Reed just represents the fan base.
Yeah.
So I had like weird feelings about Ned after seeing that, to be honest. But I'm sure and I assume Bran did too. But there are loads of really good theories about Bran. First of all, that because he can see into the past and have these green seeing visions, that he might be the old man in the tree. He might be the three-eyed raven, which I think is quite interesting because you never actually see the old guy move from the waist down. But there's an interesting theory going around that is old Bran, and that he's using his green seeing to go back in time and tell young Bran not to basically stay in too long and get stuck in the tree, because then this is what will happen.
So what if that goes wrong and then there's a third version of Bran that comes out right at the end and goes, you guys, stop it.
There's no like skeleton Bran in the tree, old Bran on the floor, and he's like, what the hell's going on here?
So speaking of time travel paradoxes, because that's where I'm going, basically, you can get all time travel-y, and I normally hate that. I really, honestly, I hate time travel as a plot device. This is interesting, though. It's sort of like, it's this thing called a stable time loop, where you don't know what comes first, chicken or egg. So Bran, if he can use his visions to go back in time, we know that, so like, you know the scene where he says, father, and he looks around, and he's like, oh, was it the wind, or can Bran actually, like, talk to people through his visions, his dreams? So if he can do that, what if he went back in time in a vision and he spoke to King Aerys, Mad King Aerys? So the reason basically that all of the events of Game of Thrones as we know it are happening is because Mad King Aerys burned Rickon and Brandon Stark alive. So that's Bran's grandfather and his uncle. And that's what sparked off like Robert's Rebellion, like Rhaegar, Lyanna, that whole thing started from like that one scenario. So what if Bran went back in time and was like talking to King Aerys, trying to get him to stop doing that? But because King Aerys is mad, he like just thinks it's voices in his head and just burns them. So what if Bran like keeps going back in time to try and fix things and he actually ends up making it worse? What I'm saying is, what if all of Game of Thrones is Bran's fault?
Yeah.
He's like Marty McFly of this whole thing.
There's
just
stuff
going back, messing things up.
Yeah. There's stuff in the books where Bran goes to visit his dad, like through the weirwood tree, and he talks to him and Ned will react. And we've seen more of this in the show, which kind of hints that Bran has like stronger power than we thought he did. But do you guys think that time travel, at least at this point, is a cop-out?
It seems a bit clumsy.
Yeah.
The idea of being able to talk to the past rather than travel to the past seems a little cleaner. But then you get to the whole thing like paradoxes.
The thing, I mean, the stable time loop means that like the event in the past happens, and because that's happened, the event in the future happens that allows you to go in the past, and it's a chicken and egg. You don't know which is the thing that starts it.
Yeah, so he thinks he's going back to stop his grandfather being burned when actually he's the cause.
Yeah.
So that's why it happens. And if he didn't go, it wouldn't happen, but he has to go because he already did.
So yeah, so like his grandfather burns, and then he tries to go back and change it.
Yeah.
But in doing so, he
Causes
Ensures
it.
his grandfather
and he goes in
burns.
this, yeah. So I don't know, I just find this theory really, really interesting.
I mean, of all the weird things that Game of Thrones has introduced, I wouldn't put it past them to have something like this. Like I said, it needs to be something quite subtle, like speaking into the past rather than traveling.
yeah.
If it does happen, though, I kind of want him to go to every single huge event in Game of Thrones. Like he goes to Rhaegar at the Harrenhal tourney, and he goes, "Don't think Lyanna Stark is hot," and he goes, "Lyanna Stark, she is hot.
She is real hot.
Damn!"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Bran, no."
So do you think he's actually gone back in time to tell his old self not to climb the tower?
Yeah.
And then that was actually the noise that they turned around and looked at.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, everything is Bran's fault.
We all knew that though.
Arya's storyline has been kind of like one of my favorites this series. Just it goes just like every episode, like something great and happens, and I'm really enjoying where it's going. Dave's just thrown me this absolute curveball of a fan theory that I love. Dave, take it away.
So there was a hint at Clegane Bowl at this episode. Jamie mentions the trial by combat, including the mountain. And we've always thought that the trial by combat would be the mountain versus the hound. But there was a slight variant on that theory that I found on the Reddit by a Redditor named Salted Pork.
Delicious.
Excellent name. And in their post, they say, "I'm pretty sure we'll see Arya Stark as Sandor Clegane versus Gregor Clegane in Clegane Bowl 2016. So I guess the theory is that now she's no one, she will take the face of the hound and then fight the mountain. But if you think about it, like that'd be a hell of a fight. Like the mountain's weakness, the one fight we've seen him almost lose was against the Viper.
Yeah.
And that was because he couldn't keep up with the Viper's speed. The Viper was way too fast.
Also, he's wearing like loads of heavy hot armor in like 30-degree sun.
Yeah, which he now can no longer take off. And like I was saying, his weakness was fighting against someone who's very fast. And Arya is pretty damn speedy.
She is nifty. Her
As we've seen-
dexterity is up to like
Oh yeah,
45.
max level dex. Like we've seen her fight with Needle in the past. We've seen her most recently fighting with the staff. Like, and she's small, so she could get around that. But do we think this theory could happen? I mean, it's not actually mentioned if the Faceless Men can change size as well.
I was gonna say because like an Arya size,
Tiny
Tiny hound.
puppy.
Oh, that'd be so cute.
it would be adorable. But would it work?
Well, that's the thing. If we find out that the Faceless Men could also change size or use some sort of glamour to do that as well, the theory could hold water. But I think that's the main thing that could blow it all apart.
I was going to say the travel time. I mean, we've already seen travel time isn't really too important because we've seen people zip from the wall to the Pike Island and
They go
so
fast
on.
travel.
Yeah, and Stannis and Davos went to Bravo
Yeah.
and back.
Yeah.
But Arya at the moment is in Bravos, and I don't know how long it takes to get from there to King's Landing, but she's not even considering that at the moment. So we'd have to see some pretty fast development for her to go from I'm learning how to hit people with a stick to I'm going to dress up as the guy I killed that one time and fight.
I also think though that the Gravedigger theory, at least at this point, definitely holds more water because
Yeah.
someone's seen like someone who could be the Hound,
But
and
that's
also
the-
the Hound's horse.
That's the thing. Like, if
If
it's a big if Faceless Men can change size, and if
Yeah.
Arya does turn into the Hound or disguise as the Hound, then I mean, people are still seeing the Hound.
yeah, maybe someone else could have been the Hound.
Yeah,
Just walking
it could
around.
just been a mistake. Like, I'm not sure this theory is going to happen, but my God, is it an interesting one?
How did they get his face?
They've got a lot of faces.
Yeah, but
Oh,
surely,
wow.
Oh, do
surely
you get a
someone-
face? Do
You
you
have to cut it off.
Oh.
We've seen Jaqen, I think in one of the trailers, he's
Well, maybe she
cut
did that
around.
off camera.
You,
They just took it, put it in her bag.
you burn one guy's face with long black hair and you're done. You're fine.
Yeah. Also,
Buffalo Bill.
what's the next episode called? Was that Book of
It's Book of
Stranger?
Stranger.
But yeah.
Stranger's one of the seven gods.
Yep.
So that would kind of tie in with the Faith, who's the other half of that trial by combat. And also, I might be wrong here. What's the Hound's horse called?
Oh, I don't
So I
remember.
think I read it was called Stranger. That could be wrong, but if that's right, that's
Oh, it
super
might
cool.
be.
And maybe it can read, so it's got a book.
Time now, as always, for Death of the Week. I have a clear favourite this week, just because it gave me feelings and thoughts and made me distrust Ned Stark, which I never thought would happen, and that's Sir Arthur Dayne. Sword of the Morning. best blade in the Seven Kingdoms, stabbed in the back by Howland Reed.
So sad. He deserved better. Although he was using 2 swords and he wasn't meant to use 2
And he
swords.
was keeping a woman in a tower against her will.
Also
Was
that.
he though? We don't know that yet. We sort of know that yet. But no, I don't know. Like I just thought everything about that choreography was amazing.
It was a
like
great
what,
fight
4
scene.
people against 2 blades. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But also Ned. Why did you lie?
Why would you lie? I mean, we
Good
know
job, Ned.
Yeah.
many reasons why he would lie, but it's still kind of... He doesn't lie a lot.
For the greater good. He lied for the greater good.
Kate, who's your death of the week? I mean, there weren't that many to choose from.
Well, my death of the week is, and I think a lot of people will agree with me on this one, Ollie. Fuck Ollie.
Bloody
That's
hell.
all I've written. Just fuck Ollie.
We've got the notes here. That's all she's written.
So we see him being hanged with the rest of the traitorous Night's Watch members, and we see them turn all blue and puffy with, strangulation. And it's really interesting, that scene where Joffrey dies and his face gets disgusting.
Yeah.
They're really good at making the makeup look kind of grotesque, and they managed to do that even though they were just being strangled. So we got to watch Ollie and Sir Alistair Thorne turn all purple, and they're definitely dead, right?
I mean, that was a lingering shot as well.
Yeah,
it was
they're
like,
definitely
you've earned this.
Yes.
Fan base, you've earned this.
So all of those deaths were okay. No, Alistair and Ollie were great. The other 2 couldn't get less, but
Don't even know that.
mostly Ollie. Fuck Ollie.
But Dave, you've written down a different death.
My death of the week was the death of Tommen's backbone.
Was it alive in the first place?
He had a hint of it. It was like hanging on for dear life. Like the heart monitor was beep, beep. When he was standing up to the High Sparrow, he had his King's Guard.
He had tears in his eyes. Did you know?
He was angry. He was utilizing that anger. And then the High Sparrow was just like, come sit down.
Have you thought
come take a
about
seat with me.
God?
And then it just flatlined. And Tommen was like, oh, tell me all about this. And I was like, Tommen.
But he used. I think my favorite thing about it is that he used Tommen's weakness, his love for his mother,
Yeah.
and he's actually like, "Oh, you know that your mother's got this magic inside of her." And she's like, "Oh, she does, doesn't she?
What it
She's
is.
so wonderful. I love my mum."
And then he was like, Tommen, man, like she was covered in poop, paraded through the street. Fight for your mama.
Fight for your wife as well, Tommen.
Oh, yeah, and her.
Fight for someone.
He has actually kind of forgot about her.
I think we all have a little bit.
Sorry.
We still love you, Marjorie. All right, we're going to have a separate spoiler warning here because now we're going to talk about the next episode, which is Book of the Stranger. So if you haven't seen the promo for Season 6, Episode 4, it was the end of last night's episode. If you haven't seen it, if for some reason you clicked away or turned the channel, what are you doing? It's like leaving a Marvel movie before the end credit sequence. But we're going to talk about that now and possible hints about what might be coming. So if you haven't seen it, turn away now. All right, Dave, do you want to kick things off with Sansa arriving at the wall?
This has to be so frustrating. Like,
It's frustrating to watch, okay?
admittedly, yes, but imagine you've gone all this way, like you've escaped Ramsay to go to the wall to find your brother, and he's like, "Sorry, love, you just missed him. He's just left."
Fresh tracks in the snow.
Yeah, but like instead of following those, I'm guessing the silver lining of this could be the start of a super team up between Sansa and Davos.
That dream team.
Since they're now stuck at Castle Black.
Yeah.
If the wildlings don't go with Jon, then chances are they may either go back south and carry on what they're doing. But I think this could be leading up to the battle scene that we saw outside Winterfell in some of the trailers. So we see Ramsay at the head of an army, which makes sense now because he's now pledged himself to help against the wildlings.
Yeah, he's secured the Umbers, the Manderleys, and the Karstark.
Exactly, especially after the gift of recon.
Recon.
So they could now be heading north to fight the wildlings, but the wildlings could also be moving south to find Jon, who they now think of as a god and want to, defend him. And especially if Sansa turns up, explains to Davos that, help me, Ramsay's hunting me, he was awful, all these horrible things he did to me, he might also be able to, get all the men from Castle Black and all the wildlings on his side, march south to fight Ramsay, and maybe they'll meet in the middle. So, as frustrating as this is going to be for them, just arriving as Jon's left,
Yeah.
the silver lining is maybe this is the prelude to Bastard Bowl.
So you just think that it sucks that they've just missed each other, but it gives time for Sansa and Davos to make their dream team, onions and lemon cakes together forever.
The buddy cop movie you've always wanted.
And then they'll go down a little bit. John will just be chilling, being like, I don't know what to do. And they'll be like, well, here's a mission for you, friend. And then it all kicks off.
Oh, I'm so excited.
That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Otherwise, it's just frustration for frustration's sake.
Yeah.
And Kate, Marjorie's back. She's been gone for so long, but we finally got a glimpse of her.
Yes, we did. She's looking pretty worse for wear. Her hair's kind of gross. We see her in her cell, and she's finally being lifted up by a guy who looks like the High Sparrow. It's a spiritual and it's a symbolic thing of lifting her up, raising her up. Maybe she actually thinks she's going to confess now. And that's what Cersei goes and tells Olenna. She goes, Marjorie's going to confess in front of the whole city. And Olenna goes, can't let that happen. For various reasons. It's embarrassing. It makes the Tyrells look bad. And, you know, we don't want to know what she's been up to. She's been up to things that need to stay secret, probably. Yeah.
Girl's got to have her secrets.
Oh, yeah. Olenna has loads. And so Olenna goes, yeah, we can't do that. And Cersei, surprisingly, says, I agree. So
Buddy Cop movie version 2.
we don't actually know what's going to happen here. Now, Cersei looks like she's saying I agree in that kind of smirky Cersei way. And that could either mean that she does actually agree, but only to get the Tyrells on her side so that she can fight the faith, which is plausible. Or she's saying that because she's about to have the mountain kill everyone in the room and then kill Marjorie, which is also plausible.
We have seen in previous trailers, if I recall, the Tyrell army.
Yeah.
Like
Soldiers at the bottom
certainly
of
Mace Tyrell in his fancy garb with his giant plume of a helmet. So this must be like part of Cersei's greater ploy to at least have some numbers.
Yes. So somehow she's going to stop Marjorie confessing. Hopefully not with murder, because that means she won't really have anyone on her side. Although I do kind of want to see a murder sooner or later. The Mountain hasn't really done many important murders. He smashed someone's head. That's about it. So I think we know that Cersei's going to get the Tyrells on side. We don't know how she's going to do that exactly. But it's likely. Manipulation and maybe murder of the High Sparrow somehow. Sooner or later it's going to happen. It could be next episode.
And my love, my favorite character. I am so glad he's back. Littlefinger's back. Yay. You can see him with dear little sweet Robin and his minder. Basically, it just looks like Littlefinger is going to do what Littlefinger does best. That's not accents, admittedly. But he says Sansa has escaped Winterfell. She won't be safe with the Boltons after her.
That's
which
true.
sort of seems like it's his fault that she was admittedly with the Boltons. So maybe, I don't want to say that Littlefinger feels remorse or guilt, because I don't think that it's possible for him to do that. But
No,
he
doesn't
does.
have that part of his brain.
He does love Catelyn Stark a lot. He does love Sansa Stark a lot. So it's interesting to see if he's going to try like convince Robin to give his armies, because the Vale is really well protected. It's a great, not only is it a great location, but their armies are really strong, really well equipped and trained. So if he's going to offer the Vale's armies to Sansa's by way of apology for Snowball, Snowdown, whatever you want to call it, but also means that Robin will take the fall and that he can just do what he does best and not
get any blame and
not get the blame. But also he wanted to be Warden of the North, right? That's what he was gearing up for, and he didn't ultimately get it. So it's a way for him to easily get Ramsay out.
Yeah.
He gets Sansa back, maybe.
If Sansa is gonna give anyone Warden of the North, I don't know if a woman can be Warden of the North.
She can be, she can be heir now, right? Because she's the only one.
Yeah, but would she give that wardenship to Baelish?
What would she do instead?
She would just take it and banish him, right?
Give it to Davos. He seems like a cool guy.
He's used to ships. He can't be stuck up in the north. He'll be sad.
He's got no fingers, so he won't get frostbite.
Only on one hand.
Yeah, true.
So that was Oathbreaker. Guys, what were our overall opinions on the episode, Kate?
My overriding opinion is, oh my God, can we just see the Tower of Joy already? At this rate, we won't get to see it until episode 5 by the sounds of it. And we waited so long. So especially if we've read the books and we've been waiting for R plus L
Like
equals
20
J
years at this point, right?
for more like a billion years, a billion actual years. And I just want it to happen. Other than that, the episode was fine. Bit bored by Daenerys. Not really much happening in Marine.
I'm not looking forward to the amount of Daenerys in next week's episode because there's Jorah and Dario. I've given them nicknames, Bora and Darino. I don't know. I just feel like her plotline's kind of faltering a little bit. Dave?
Yeah.
Well, especially after the last episode where all the ships were burned, you were like, oh, I guess we're not going to Westeros anytime soon. But for this episode, I mean, it's the weakest episode so far, but I don't think it's a bad episode by any means.
No, I mean, it's sort of saying like the quality that we've had so far.
Yeah.
I think the wall saved it. If the wall stuff hadn't have happened, it would have been real boring.
There were some really good moments, but then
Yeah.
the bits around those moments were kind of just either updates to remind people that these parts still exist or setting up for the next episode.
Yeah.
I felt like when Tyrion was talking to Missandei and Grey Worm, that was just sort of to justify Peter Dinklage being there. Because otherwise he had like nothing really to say, so they just gave him a little...
It just felt like the Gonk scene when he talks for ages about breaking Beatles.
Yeah.
Again, just a scene that didn't need to exist.
Yeah.
But next week, we'll get some badass Brienne.
Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. So make sure to join us to talk about next week's episode Mondays, youtube.com/GameSpot, or of course GameSpot.com. Or if you'd like this episode in an audio format, so you can listen in the car, on your commute, just before you go to bed, be sure to check out GameSpot of Thrones on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at least James Games.
I'm at How Not to Draw.
And I'm at Irregular Dave.
And we'll see you next week.